Hi everyone, welcome to Excel Highway, your one-stop shop for all your Excel needs. Today I wanted to show you 10 useful functions that I use almost in every file that I build, and I think if you get to know them they would help you as well. So first off is SUMIF. SUMIF is similar to sum, only that you combine it with an if or a condition. So let's say I have country, USA, Canada, Brazil, and quantity 100, 80, 50. Let's say this is space, just making it up as we speak, 240. And for example, you want to see what is the quantity. You know what, let's add also something called included. Let's have a yes, yes, no. And let's say you want to understand the value just of the quantity of what's included. So you can use SUMIF, range. You know what? Let me just show you SUMIFs is even better, even if you use it for one. SUMIFs basically gives you more than one criteria. So for example, sum range, what's the range I want to sum? Okay. The next argument is the criteria. Basically, what's the range that I'm checking? So let's put here, and then I want to see only the lines, to summarize only the lines with yes. So that gives me 180. If I change that to no, that will give me 50. If I go back to yes, I can also say, you know what, show me only the lines where it's a yes and the country is USA. Now it's dropped to 100, and you see I can add a line called USA, yes, 35, sorry, 45, 40 is changed. If I change that to no, it goes back to 100. So that's SUMIF, it's SUMIF or SUMIFs actually. Let's do the same with Countifs. So Countifs is very similar to SUMIFs. Here it's, you summarize, here you count. So let's go ahead and count ifs, and here there's no range to sum, so you just have to define what are you counting. So I can, for example, count the lines for USA. That's going to give me 2. And I can also do the same as I did before. Sorry. Okay. And show me just the USA yes line, and that gives me a 1. So this counts, this summarizes. Okay? IndexMatch. Index and match, something I use very often whenever I want to, combine sort of a VLOOKUP and age lookup. With IndexMatch, you can combine two searches. Search for a certain row and search for a certain column. Okay, I'm just going to write the formula and then explain it. First, there's index. This basically is where you define what's the range where you want the search to take place. You have to select, I'm going to select this table, and you have to make sure that you select a range where the first, column F, that's where the first search will happen, and the first row, number 2 through 6 through so F through I is going to be where you search the header, and 2 through 6 is where you're going to search for the row number. It'll be clearer once I write this. So, and you see that by default it gives an option for inputting the row number and the column number. So I can just write 1 and 1, for example. That's going to give me country, because that's the first one and the first one over here. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to use match. So match, I'm going to be looking, for example, for a line called Canada. Okay. Over here. in the this column, and match type 0. Basically, this is returned to me line number 3, and I'm going to do the same for the rows. And this time I'm going to reference a cell, which is usually what I do. I don't really usually key in the names, but I just want to show you if I change this to quantity. Sorry, I forgot one digit. Oh, oh, my mistake. I did it opposite. So you gotta start, of course, with the value, then the array, and then, okay. So this brought me to 80. So if I change this to space, it's going to bring me to 200, which is this. Okay? And of course I can also change the name, use also the name of the country as a reference to a cell and not. That's always my recommendation, by the way. So here if you change it to Brazil, and you can imagine USA will give me the first line. Okay, and I can switch from quantity, I can write included. Okay, so that's, you can imagine you can drag this formula and it just really helps you pull data from other tables. Okay, date. So date is something that's also very helpful for me, at least. The date, you need to pass 3 arguments: the year, the month, and the day. So I usually, again, like to use reference. So at this point it doesn't return anything, but if I key in 2021 and something like that, so it gives me the date. So this is dynamic, so you can change it and it will change accordingly. Edate. Edate is also something very nice that I use. You can reference a date and either increase or decrease by months. So for example, I can get the next month, the next 30th. Why is that very convenient? Because if I have the first day of the month, like the 1st of June, then Edate will give me always the first day of the month. So you can't really do that with, plus 30 or plus 28 or whatever, or you can have, some more sophisticated formulas, but this is very nice. So I can, like, this is going to be next year. So you can reference everything by a month. You can do it also backwards. So you can give it a -1. That's going to give you the month before. So Edate, very, very nice. Week number, also something I use often. It's just going to give me the week number of that specific date. And here you reference the cell, and then you have an options to define what is the Monday, what is the day that you are starting the week. So in this case, you can see this gives you week number 17. So if I change the dates, okay, so it gives me week 53. So you see everything is dynamic and nice to use. LEN, or length, which is short for length. This gives you the number of characters that are existing in a cell. So I'm going to reference cell number C7. So if I have ABC, it's going to give me back 3. ABC space D, that's going to count the space and give you 5. Okay, test 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's going to give me 11. So this is very useful if you want to understand how many characters you have in a certain cell, because sometimes you can use that to pull information or manipulate data, etc. Some products is very helpful little formula that I use. I'll give you a nice example. Let's say you have a plan and actual for a certain date. Let's say this is the first 22. So you had a plan of 10, actual of 5. Let's say you had This is for item 1, 2, 3, 6, 20, 4, 15. And let's say this is the next week, so plus 7. And here it's going to be 15, 10, 7, I don't know, 14, and 6, 7, sorry. So let's say you want to very quickly summarize something, like, I don't know, what is the only the plant quantity for a for a certain time frame. So what was the plant quantity for the 2 weeks? So it's hard to use sum because you have to skip, all the actual lines, right? So what you can do, you can just add here a 0 and a 1. Well, actually, let me move this. You can add a 0 and 1, 1 and 0. And by using sum product, okay, sum product, you can actually you need to mark sum product is going to multiply each of this one. Basically, is multiplying this array by this array. So it's 1 times 10, 0 times 5, 1 times 6, and 0 times 15 gives me 16. And you could do the same with the actual. And now you have an actual versus planned for, let's say, item number 1. Okay, which is, and imagine you have 10 or 15 dates. So this is a very quick way to just understand, how to do this in a very easy way to skip columns. You could do the same also for the item. So you could, for example, you could have here sort of an include column. Let's say you only want to include these 3. So you could also have a sum product going here and here. So in this case, this also gives you 16, but if I change that to 1, it gives me a 20. And if I change that to 0, it gives me 10. So it's also a nice way. I use sum product a lot to quickly get results. Left, right, and mid. So left, right, and mid is a very nice, well, very useful actually for me to use. What this actually, so left and right returns a string that you define, whether it's going from the left part of the word, the cell, or the right. So for example, let's reference even this cell, and if I were, let's say, ask for the 5 characters going from left to right, so it's going to return to me the word index. If I change that to right, it's going to return match. So left and right is very straightforward. It just, you define where and how many. Mid is where you define the text, but also the start and number of characters. So in this case, if I selected 7, the 7th character, and give me run, it's going to bring me back the plus sign. So this is where also you can combine the length to really, help you understand where which is the reference of the starting position or the number of characters. Last one, which is I use a lot for a lot of, mainly for manipulating headers and data. So the concatenate, however it's pronounced, is a function, but I just use this sign, the and sign. I find it much easier to use, but both will work. So for example, let's say you have we can even use this table as an example. So let's say you have this table as an example, and you want a header that will show you planned for that week, let's say. So we can use week number, or we can just say, okay, let's call this column plan plus, let's say we can add symbols, and then I'm going to reference week number. These are really things that I do on a daily basis. Okay, 21, and I get plan. Maybe you can even add, let's say, plan week. So by doing this, you can just copy the formula, and then it will automatically adjust the text, whereas you don't have to key in plan week 52. It just automatically does that. So if I'm in, let's say, on the 6th of March, it's going to show me plan week 9, plan week 10. And of course, you can do that the same for actual. I'm just going to move the reference, and you're going to get an actual week 10. So this is a nice way to build it using the concatenate or the and sign. So these are the 10 functions that I use a lot in Excel, and I highly recommend that you start using them. So if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe, leave a comment, share, like, whatever is good for that, and I'd be happy to see you again next time. Take care.